Hello and welcome back to the studio. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about some of the tools I use for grinding and sharpening that I use here in my studio. Sharp tools help a lot when you're trimming, when you're working with pottery. Your trimming tools, they get dull, especially the steel ones, they get dull pretty quick. Clay is very abrasive. When you're trimming, you're wearing down these tools pretty quickly. You can get them steel tools in different hardnesses and different materials. Most of them are made out of a stainless steel. Some of them are carbon steel, but they all tend to wear out pretty quickly if they're steel. The exception being the carbide tools, which you can get from different companies. They stay sharp for a long time, but even after a while of usage with them, they're going to need to be sharpened again. Usually for carbide tools, you're going to need something with a diamond grit wheel of some sort, disc, that you're going to need to be able to resharpen those tools. So for sharpening purposes, there's different things you can get. There are files. There are files such as this one that is a diamond file. This is from Vulcaneven, and it's just a little diamond abrasive sharpener that you can use to hand sharpen. You can put an edge back on your pottery tools using this. You can get other diamond sharpening stones, or even your regular stone sharpening tool, stone sharpeners for knives. You can use those to sharpen your tools also. So all the different types of sharpening stones, wet sharpening stones that you can get, that you use in different grits. You want to have something, I think a good grit to have is something probably in the 200 range, 300 range, even down to about 100 grit is fine to take off more material. But you can use something in a 200 to 300 grit range and go up from there. You can use regular sandpaper also, that for wet dry sandpaper, and you can use those to sharpen your tools also. A suggestion is to get a piece of glass, small piece of glass that's fairly thick, maybe a 1/4 inch thick glass, and you can set your wet dry paper on top of that so it stays flat as you're working with sandpaper. But there's different things you can use to be sharpening your tools. Recently, and last year, I invested in this is a Work Sharp sharpening center. Most people buy these and use them for woodworking tools to sharpen their chisels and other tools, lathe tools. They'll use these, and they usually come with it's glass backed. It's a piece of glass, circle of glass, and you can stick on with they're adhesive backed sandpapers. This is a 6-inch diameter, and you can put them on either side. You can get them in different grits, but they also have them for diamond also. And what it is at the very center of this, I can unscrew that, pop this off. Now they sell a magnetic with adhesive backed, so you can put a little piece of magnetic, and then these discs, you can buy them on Amazon and other locations. These are 6-inch lap wheel. They're called diamond lap wheels, and they come in many different grits. This is a 240 grit. I've got a 120 grit, which is a heavier grit. I've got like a 600, 500, 1500 grit for really fine. But this is great because it's magnetic. These stick to the wheel. So on this one, you set your piece of glass with the magnet there, and then this will hold it in place, and then you got a little attachment. So you can put that on there, tighten it down, you turn it on, and you're ready to start sharpening your tools. So you can start putting an edge back on your tools. If you've got a straight edge, you can pretty much get those and start putting an edge back on those also. It's got a rest on here also that you can use, which makes it nice. Now, those could cost quite a bit of money, but there's a difference. These 6-inch discs from Amazon are very inexpensive. Anywhere from about $10 to $20 for one of these diamond lap wheels. These are 6-inch ones. I have a 9-inch bat, plastic bat these are from Speedball. If you've got a wheel, you're a potter and you've got a wheel, you can use spray adhesive, basically contact adhesive, spray it on the back of of one of these discs and glue it right to the bat. Nice thing about these plastic bats is they don't warp. So you can actually attach this to your wheel, turn your wheel on, and now you've got a sharpening surface. So you can sharpen your tools that way. Another tool you can use to sharpen is your grinding wheels. You can buy those inexpensively from Harbor Freight, Home Depot, other locations. You can buy your grinding wheels, and it usually comes with a fine and coarse grit wheel, stone wheel on them, and you can use those to sharpen your tools also. Makes it to be really nice. Another thing you can do is you can use a Dremel. So I have a Dremel here, and it has a little diamond wheel on it, a little diamond disc that's removable. And so these are great for even so you can actually sharpen your tools with it also. Does really well with that. So those are some of the different ways which I sharpen my tools. I prefer having some form of a power one. Inexpensive. If you already have a potter's wheel, just get yourself a couple of different grits of lap discs and glue them onto a bat. Stick them on your wheel. You've got a perfect surface to be working on and grinding, and you can also, they're just great for that type of sharpening, especially if you want something that's powered that's inexpensive. I think that's one of the more inexpensive ways of getting a nice sharpening surface for your tools. Moving on, we all have problems when we're firing and glaze runs. And you've got here's a pot that ran pretty heavily, and so popped it off popped it off the shelf, the kiln shelf. Had the kiln wash on it, so it popped right off, but it's pretty much got a lot of glaze on it. So there's different ways you can remove it. You can take this over to the grinding wheel, put it there and grind off the excess down to a certain level if you want. You can do that. Another thing you can do is once you get it down to that point, as I said, you can get different things. There's silicon carbide. This is also a plastic bat that it's got this adhesive backed silicon carbide, and then you can get fine or coarse grit discs, and I believe you can get these at, there's a couple of Pottery Supply, some of the different Pottery Supply places in the US sell these, so you can get these and just stick them to a bat, and that gives you a surface where you can actually on the wheel grind away at the bottom of this, get it nice and flat and remove it. But the silicon carbide, they tend to wear out over time. So what I've done is from Amazon.com, I've gone in and I've bought 12-inch. Well, you've already seen that I have the 6-inch. So if you do a lot of small pots, you can get these lap discs, different grits, so you can get like 120 grit diamond impregnated lap wheel. And then you can just spray adhesive it onto your bat, put it on the wheel, and grind away. I find that that's good for small things, getting certain edges or whatever. But I've got a 100 grit lap disc, diamond lap disc that I bought. It's about $30 on Amazon. And spray adhesive right onto a plastic bat which doesn't warp, and that gives me a great grinding wheel put it on my potter's wheel and grind away. I've also got it in a finer grit. This is about a 600 grit, so You can use the 100 grit to take it off, and if you want to get a fine finish, especially if you're doing like a porcelain or something, you want something with a finer grit so you're not leaving grit lines. So nice 600 grit diamond lap wheel, attach it to a bat, a plastic bat, and you're good to go. I've been using this one for 2 years and still has plenty of grit on it. There's really, and I basically, when you're doing it, I'll put water on the wheel as it's spinning, grind away with it wet, put some more, it keeps the dust down, dries off a little bit more, put some more water on it, and away you go. Doesn't heat up the pots, works great that way. I also use the diamond wheel on my Dremel. This little diamond wheel is great. Let me go ahead and, for getting in there and grinding away the edges. This one I tend to use most to like go around and get it down to a certain level before I take it to onto a larger disc to flatten it back out and smooth it off and get it back down to just bare clay on the foot of my pot. I use that. Other things I use for grinding and such, I'll get stuff stuck on my kiln shelves and I need to scrape it off. I don't like sitting there with this silicon carbide brick and trying to grind away at it. I'd rather use some power tools. A lot of people have oscillating, they have some of these oscillating tools, saws, that this one's got diamond on the edge. And so you can turn that on and it oscillates, vibrates back and forth, and you can use that to just go right up next to any glaze that's stuck on your shelves. It's being stubborn. You can pop it off with this. I also have some large diamond grinding discs on my angle grinder. I've got a small and a large. I've got two sizes of angle grinders. So I'll use those for grinding away at the bottom of on the shelves, or sometimes on a very stuck-on pot I'll use one of those also. But for the most part, I'll use these tools here. Sometimes what I also use, I have found that you can use it either with your Dremel, because they have small bits, or they have large bits, and you can get carbide bits. And these also are a little higher speed, and you can use these, and they will take the glaze off also. And they come in a variety of different sizes. Here's an example of a set of carbide tips. Whoops, there went the little ones. So they have them in different size shanks, down to the size that you usually put in your Dremel. So you've got the little ones, and these will pop right into your Dremel. And they're little carbide bits, and they're great for grinding into edges and working on them that way. The larger ones are good for removing material out of larger areas. So that's those are just some great tools that I use for grinding and also for sharpening tools. I want to thank you very much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed the information I gave you about the sharpening and grinding tools that I use. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and I will try to get back to you. Please like and subscribe, and I appreciate your time. Thank you. Bye.